Hello everybody, this is Patrick from TCG Source, and today we're going to be going up my deck profile of the Shaddolls. Now this deck has been kind of extensively tested for a little bit, and I feel like this deck, to me, is the most consistent way to run Shaddolls. And I'll tell you about why I ran some cards. And the side deck is kind of imperfect, so we're going to go ahead and talk about what we can fix in there, and as well as what cards we could put in the main deck, or what I would side out and such things as that. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, we run one Mathematician. This card opens up a lot of plays. It does. It's basically a free Foolish Burial, and if it gets destroyed by battle, it's a free draw. So it's definitely a really excellent card. It definitely gets you plays like nobody's business. I'm gonna try to adjust this light here. There we go. This is Shaddoll. There we go. It does get you a lot of plays, and it's just a really good card. Next up we have Neospatian Granmal. This card is a lifesaver sometimes if you have a card you can't get over that your opponent has. And it just really helps out in those situations. It just gets over walls and gets over panes. So I love this card. No, actually I lied. This next up card I love more than that. BLS, Blacklisted Soldier, Envoy at the beginning. This card is super duper amazing. The deck literally uses him very well, actually. It's an extremely great card to be running, and it's fairly easy to get out. There's a lot of lights in this deck that there's a lot of lights that this deck can utilize to get him out pretty quickly, and no, Effect Veiler is not one of them. So let's go ahead and move on. We run double Denko Sekka. This card actually stops a lot of your opponent's plays. You necessarily don't really need to be setting spells or traps or be using set spell or traps all the time. So that's why Denko Sekka really helps out with those plays, because your opponent can't activate a Vanities in response to you special summoning or something like that. It's definitely a good card. It's been going down in price a little bit, but I still think it's a very useful card, and I will use it until its usefulness is run out. So we have double Curry Bandit. This card also opens up plays, especially straight off first turn of the game. Definitely pick out some spell cards and mill some monsters in the process to help you search out and kind of gain pluses as you go along with the deck. And then we have double Cephalon, the Ultimate Time Lord. I do run this card. I think he's really good, especially against Cliff-Orts. Cliff-Orts are kind of like slowing down a little bit. People aren't playing them as much, but they still are a plot problem, especially Cliff-Ort Towers. This card easily gets over that as long as they have no traps, but yeah, and it brings back another monster, El Shaddoll Construct, and gives it 4,000 attack. So it's a really fun card to use, and it works really well in the deck. All right, we run one Shaddoll Squamata. This card is mainly for Mathematician to kind of mill Dragon in the graveyard if needed. Other than that, it can be used to be flip summoned and destroy a card in the field, or just send another Shaddoll card in place of itself. It's a really good card, or it's just used to thin out the deck as well. We run double Falco. This card is super awesome. It's a tuner, so it can be used with other cards later on in the deck that we'll go over. And it brings back a monster if you need it from the graveyard, and it can bring back itself if it's discarded by a card effect. So this card is heavily useful, and it recycles itself. So that's a really cool card to have in the deck. Double Beast, I don't really see the point in having three, but this card is definitely awesome. It gives you free draws, and if you can manage to bring it back with Falco, it's even more draws and an additional effect possibly, so that's really cool. We run Triple Dragon. This is basically like an MST for the deck, or Compulse, depending on which way you use it. Super cool card, super good card, and it can help you out with a lot of stuff. Moving on, we got triple Shaddoll Hedgehog. This guy searches out either monsters or spells. Pretty simple. You need them to have the deck function properly, so we run triple Hedgehog for that reason. Alright, now on to the spells. That's it for the monsters. So for spells, we run one Regeki. This card is super good, self-explanatory why I run it. I know a lot of players aren't really maining this card anymore, but I feel like it's still a pretty good main deck card, and you can easily side it out with other stuff that you feel would do better with the deck. You got one Soul Charge. This card is super awesome, super broken, so it can save you in a lot of situations and save your life. We have one Snatch Steal. This is a card I kind of side out depending on how the game's going, but this card is super funny. When they brought it back, it's just take a monster and use it for however long you can hold on to it. So that's a really funny card. We use Foolish Burial. This card actually does give you pluses. I side this out as well, but it's free pluses, and it does help you out with the game. We run double El Shaddoll Fusion. It's a quick play, so you can use it during the battle phase. You can use only one per turn, but it's still really good in that aspect that you can use it during the battle phase. And it's just more fusion for the deck. We run double Nef Shaddoll Fusion. This card I absolutely love. Not a lot of players play it. Not a lot of players like it that much, but I think this card's amazing. It can help you bring out some of the Shaddoll monsters you normally wouldn't be able to bring out without Shaddoll Roots or Core. Excuse me, El Shaddoll Core. This card definitely helps out with that. Because one of the extra deck will go into that. One of the extra deck monsters is actually surprisingly good for the deck, and it really helps out against some of the decks out now. We run triple Shaddoll Fusion. This is kind of the main card of the deck. It allows you to fusion summon basically like normal, but it also, if your opponent controls a monster from the extra deck, you can use materials from your main deck as the material for the fusion summon, so that's really good in that aspect. Get free effects from the main deck. Alright, on to traps. We got the 3 basic, Compulsory Evac, Bottomless, and Solemn. These cards are, to me, some of the more necessary cards nowadays in the metagame. They definitely do help out for obvious reasons. Alright, I only play double Vanity's Emptiness. This deck is nice with Vanity's Emptiness, that's why I only run 2. It's definitely one of those cards that I feel can screw me over sometimes as well as screw my opponent over, depending on how you time it, but it's still an awesome and excellent card, but I feel that this deck only needs 2 of those. So, alright, we run double Sinister Shadow Games. This card does give free pluses, and it can help you get over some spells and traps that your opponent might have with the combination of Dragon, or flipping your own monster to gain an effect beforehand. It's a really cool card in that aspect, and it does help. And then we play double Shaddoll Core. This card, I feel like I run this at 2 because of the simple fact that it gets back spells and traps from the graveyard, or spell. Yeah, the Shaddoll spells and trap with the name Shaddoll on it once it's into the graveyard. It also is a level 9 when it's summoned to the field. So in combination with Falco, that gives you an easy Star Eater, so I do play that in the deck. And it also can be used as any attribute for Shaddoll monsters, which is really cool. And it's a Shaddoll card, which also gives you plus it with one of the extra deck cards that I'll be going into right now. So that's the main deck. So here's the extra deck. We have one Goyo Guardian. This card is actually really good. It still used to be really good, and it still is really good. I really adore this card, and it lets you take your opponent's monsters as well as having a high attack for level 6. It's very useful. I love playing this card. We have Black Rose Dragon. It's going to be hard to see. Mine's a ghoster, but Black Rose Dragon, blow up the field. Plain and simple. It's a really excellent card to have in the game nowadays, especially if you can't get out that Exciton Knight, but you have the ability to Synchro. Definitely helps out. We have one Star Eater. This goes in really well with El Shaddoll Core, like I said, or Shaddoll Core, and Falco. Easy Star Eater, and its Synchro Summon can't be negated, and it's basically like an Armides in the sense where when you attack, they can't respond with anything. So it's a really good card. I play one Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. I love this card. Not a lot of players play it, but I think I mentioned in my last video, I really do like this card. It does get over walls, and it does end up going for game sometimes. It's a very useful card, in my opinion. We have one Abyss Dweller. Decks love playing from the graveyard now, so pretty obvious why Abyss Dweller is a thing. It's still a really good card, so I play one of those. We have one Castell, the Skyblaster Musketeer. This card is really awesome. Shuffles a card in your opponent's deck if you detach 2 materials, and if you detach one, puts it in face down defense position. So you can also, I believe, the first effect. Yeah, so you can also do it for your own monsters to kind of flip Beast or Falco face down again and kind of reuse them. So this is a really cool card in that aspect. And it also gets rid of problem cards that your opponent may have on the field as well. We run 101. This card's really cool. Absorbs the monster and kind of protects itself. 2100 attack, so it's really good in that aspect as well. Excuse me, sorry. We run 1 Evil Swarm Exosound Knight. Pretty self-explanatory, like a Black Rose Dragon, and except it keeps itself on the field, which is really cool, and it can be used twice. Your opponent will usually have a response to this, but it's still a really good card nonetheless to have, just in case, because it is an excellent card to excellent card in the game right now. So now we finally get to the fusion monsters. Let's go ahead and get started. We run double Winda. This deck doesn't really need 3. 2's a very sufficient number, and this card's really good. Only lets your opponent special summon once, as well as yourself. But at this point, you wouldn't really need to special summon more than once you have her on the field. And she can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, which is really nice as well. We'd run double El Shaddoll Construct. This card lets you, when it's summoned, send 1 Shaddoll card from your main deck to your graveyard. It's really good in that aspect, and any special summon monster that battles with this card is instantly destroyed, so it's really awesome in that sense as well. Now this next card I actually had a discussion video on. I was wondering what people thought of it. I play it because I think it's pretty awesome. El Shaddoll Wendigo, and it basically kind of protects itself against special summon monsters, I believe it is. And it's got 2800 defense regardless of that. So it's still a really cool card in that aspect. It does help out, and it does protect you against whatever your opponent may have. So that's really cool. And it targets any monster, so it can protect itself or it can protect another monster you may have on the field. It's a really good card in that aspect as well. Alright, we play 1 El Shaddoll Grista. This is the card I was talking about with El Shaddoll Core. Basically, what happens is when your opponent would special summon a monster, you can discard a Shaddoll card from your hand. That includes the spells and traps as well as the monsters. And negate the summon and destroy it. So this is a really cool card. This is a free Solemn Warning per turn. It's got 2450 attack. I feel like this card is really, really excellent in the game, especially with the addition of the Nephew Fusion. He's a lot easier to get out. You don't have to run Fire and Ice Hands or anything like that in the deck anymore, because I have seen that. But this card is super, super awesome, and I love playing this in the deck. So let's continue. And for the last card in the extra deck, we have El Shaddoll Shekinaga. This is basically a breakthrough skill per turn. It does the same thing. And all the Shaddoll monsters have the same effect, to where if they're destroyed in the graveyard, you can bring back a spell or trap card, a Shaddoll spell or trap card from your graveyard to your hand. So they really like to recycle, and it's a really fun deck in that aspect. So I really like this card. It definitely does help out. Alright, so now for the side deck, we're going to talk about cards that we could run. Exodius the Ultimate Forbidden Lord kind of recycles your cards, puts them back in your main deck, and lets you reuse them. That's a nice card. It does give you a free special summon and things like that, so that's a card to keep in mind. Mistake, I do only have 1 in my side deck right now, just as a forewarning. It does work against the Necros coming out and the Clifforts and Stellar Knights and things like that. The decks that love to search out and add to their hand, it definitely does help out against those decks. So we're going to get started. We play 1 Book of Moon, stop our opponent's plays, reuse our flip effect monsters in that aspect. Card I might take out, but might not. Who knows? Alright, next we play triple Mystical Space Typhoon. This card is pretty necessary. It destroys a spell trap on the field, and it's a really good card right now in the game. This card, I don't know whether I want to change to 2 or 3. Spell Shattering Arrow. Since Clifforts haven't been like as popular as they used to be, it's kind of one of those cards that you just like, oh, do I need more? It's possible, but there's another card in here that I would potentially bump up to 3 rather than 2. But yeah, this card is actually really, really good against those, and it's a quick play, so it also works against or on the other turn. I would run more than 1 Mistake, like I said. This card is really, really good against the meta now, not letting them add to their hand. This deck doesn't really add to the hand except for, I believe, Hedgehog, which is really cool, so you don't really need to worry about that when you play this card. And you can even side out the Hedgehogs if you wanted to, but that's your choice. But this card is super good. We run 2 Breakthrough Skill. A lot of effect-heavy decks now, based around monsters. So this card is definitely a good side deck card. All right, this card I might consider bumping up to 3 because of vanities and things like that, traps that stay on the field. This card is super good. Basically destroys everyone's face-up spells and traps, and inflicts 300 damage per card to both players. It's a really good card in that sense, and it does deal damage. So. And then we have this card as a precautionary, triple Imperial Iron Wall. I really like this card because a lot of times I'll be playing decks that try to banish my stuff or have stuff to side out to banish my cards. So I really like to have this card in the side deck because of the simple fact that anti-meta is still a thing. People do play it, and it's unfortunate, but hey, what are you going to do? So that's my deck profile for the Shaddolls. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys would add, what you guys would take out. May or may not listen to you. I really like this deck profile. I think it's efficient the way it is. Oh, another card that you could add. I felt like these two were kind of slowing my deck down, if anything. I don't know why. Every time I tested it, it wasn't working as fantastically as I would have loved it to. But El Shaddoll, or I'm sorry, White Dragon Wyvern Buster and Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. Those two. In the beginning of the game, I felt like they were kind of slow and not very useful. I mean, later on in the game, yeah, they do give you free rank 4 plays and such things as that. But I didn't really feel like they were useful to me as far as the game started and went on, and then later on it did get you more useful. But this deck is relatively fast and it likes to gain advantage relatively quickly, so I felt like those cards weren't too necessary. I may side some in just because they did do decently well. But we'll see how that goes. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe for more videos here at TCG Source. Go ahead and give us a like on Facebook. We post all of our videos there now, so you can check us out from social media rather than having to check out our Facebook page constantly. So I want to thank you guys again so much for watching, and you guys stay lucky. Bye-bye.
Got me. You got me. You got me. You got me.